The famous peace settlement that ended the Great War, the Treaty of Versailles, was signed by the victorious Western Allies in Paris to establish lasting peace. The hopes of peoples and politicians were soon disappointed, for the peace settlement of 1919 turned out to be a failure and sowed the seeds of another great war. After the Russian Revolution in March, there were strikes everywhere in Germany. The moderates passed a peace resolution in Reichstag calling for peace without territorial annexations. The German military established a virtual dictatorship to counter this moderation born of war weariness. By September, Ludendorff realized that Germany had lost the war, and by November 11, 1918, the war was over. The German Revolution resembled the Russian Revolution of March 1917. Both countries had a popular uprising, toppled an authoritarian monarchy, and workers and soldiers created a counter-government. But in Germany, the radical Lenin-like revolutionaries in the councils lost. The leaders in the Social Democratic Party were really pink and not red. They favored the gradual elimination of capitalism. Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg tried to seize control of the government. They were then arrested and brutally murdered by military leaders. This then caused working-class activists in the Social Democratic Party to break away and join the pro-Lenin German Communist Party the Liebknecht group just founded. Even if the moderate socialists had followed Liebknecht and Luxemburg on the Leninist path, it is very unlikely they would have succeeded. Civil war in Germany would certainly have followed, and the Allies, who are already occupying Western Germany according to the terms of the armistice, would have marched onto Berlin and ruled Germany directly.
The Treaty of Versailles was a good start to repair a war-shattered Europe, but there was a couple obstacles that threatened the peace. The first was Germany, which was very unstable with communist and reactionary uprisings. The larger obstacle was the United States. Henry Cabot Lodge rallied the American people against Wilson's League of Nations, saying that because of its collective action policy, it took away Congress's right to declare war. Wilson was too old and tired to argue, and so the United States never signed the treaty. This left the U.S. out of the League of Nations, also leading Britain to stay out. France was alone to defend Germany, which later caused lots of problems. The U.S. shares blame in destroying the alliance that could have potentially prevented World War II.
The organization of the Treaty of Versailles started in Paris in 1919. The main players were the United States, Great Britain, and France. Germany couldn't join, and Russia was in a civil war and did not attend. The representative of these nations were President Wilson, representing the United States, George Clemenceau, aka the Tiger, representing France, and Lloyd George, representing Great Britain. President Wilson wanted to create the League of Nations, convinced it was the only way to guarantee future protection and avoid future wars. Great Britain and France were unenthusiastic, but accepted. France and Great Britain were more concerned with punishing Germany than starting Wilson's League of Nations. Lloyd won his election largely on the basis of punishing Germany, so he owed it to his supporters to follow through. France wanted security, specifically a buffer zone to be created in between Germany and France, referred to as the Rhineland, but Great Britain and the United States rejected this notion. France agreed to leave the demands for the Rhineland in exchange for a defensive alliance with Great Britain and the United States.
Due to the Treaty of Versailles, German colonies were given to France, Britain, and Japan as League of Nations mandates. Germany's territorial loss was minor, losing Alsace-Lorraine and German land inhabited by the Poles that encompassed German Danzig. The Allies had declared that Germany was responsible for the war, and they were forced to pay reparations. The German government protested, but the Allies still had a naval blockade set, forcing the Germans to agree. On June 28, 1919, the treaty was signed in the Hall of Mayors, where Bismarck's empire was proclaimed 50 years before. Separate peace treaties concluded with Austria-Hungary and Belgium, which ratified the existing situation in East Central Europe following the breakup of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Britain and France expanded their power and influence in the Middle East, and Arab nationalists felt cheated and betrayed. Britain encouraged a wartime Arab revolt against Ottoman Turks and made vague promises of an independent Arab kingdom. Britain and France were determined to control Syria, Iraq, Palestine, and Transjordan, so the French army attacked Damascus and took over while British troops crushed an uprising in Iraq and took control. The British Balfour Declaration of November 1917 favored a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which the Palestinian Arabs disliked. Here it begins to appear that Western imperialism has replaced Turkish rule in the Middle East.
Well, it's been a long time now since I've seen you smile.